in lots of urban areas just like this, there isn't actually any formal public space in terms of plazas, squares, parks. There are footpaths, of course, which have played a really important social and commercial role for thousands of years. But there's lots of things that you can't do on a footpath, like a playground or a more formal kind of hangout area. So that's where these new pocket parks that can be inserted within an existing street by closing it to cars, essentially, provide a new public space offering that just doesn't exist at the current time. Essentially, the real value of pocket parks is that because they're small, they can be distributed across an area of the city to give a public space to much greater proximity to many more people. So, you know, the activities that they cater for are in some ways very simple, but also very important when it comes to what the public domain is there for, and that's really socialising.
You don't need a lot of green space to get the benefits of getting out and about in nature and being connected to your community. And sometimes those smaller parks can be very much easier to manage for communities, and they can draw people together in a way that is more cohesive than when the parks are bigger.
Less traffic coming through here, more pedestrian room for people, and especially the elderly, you know, that live around here. And no, it's serene.
It refreshes your soul, your body, not just for the people, but for the birds and, you know, other life, wildlife as well.
Nah, nice and cool. There's 1,000 little dogs around the city, and the big parks, that's where there's 100 dogs. You come to the little parks, there's only 1 or 2. She's a good dog, but, you know, like, dogs will be dogs. And that's about it.
Our cities are increasingly getting hotter, and larger tracts of green open spaces are the things that are going to take that heat away from our cities. That can't be done by just pocket parks. The other thing is that people need a variety of recreational opportunities as well. You can't really go for a run in a pocket park without getting very bored and very dizzy. You can't get that sense of time out to perhaps do some yoga or a mindfulness practice in a pocket park. The other thing that larger tracts of open space can offer is a diversity of uses within the space. So you might have a children's playground next to an adult's gym, next to a larger tract of unmanicured space for some wilderness and so forth. So those bigger parks are still so important, but so are the pocket parks. It's all about a balance.
Also, you know, we can install what's called water-sensitive urban design or rain gardens, which essentially collect water from the street and clean it before entering waterways, and also actually reduce the amount of water that flows into waterways and keep it in the soil. So these pocket parks provide space to be able to do that. So they can, you know, and you know, when it's done in better ways, you know, that addition of additional tree planting and rain gardens actually increases the amenity and experience of that space as well. So they really need to be thought of in that kind of holistic way. as well as providing a new small public space, it also has what's called a local area traffic management purpose. So it stops, traffic coming onto the high street at too many locations. It means that no longer pedestrians would have to cross a road. They get more continuous footpaths, so it really improves the pedestrian amenity and walkability of a neighbourhood when you can start to divert traffic and turn streets or areas of streets into really public space. They've closed down a street to cars to create this space, which is probably about 400 to 500 square metres in size. But a very, very local type of space where locals sit down, watch people go by, chat, bump into neighbours, walk their dogs. So really important small social space for the community that really before they built this, there would have been very little kind of formal public space.
It is important to tailor those parks to context. It is important to respond to the community who live there. If you're building in a community where there's lots of young families, of course you're going to make that pocket park a playground. If you're building for an elderly community, you might make the space a bit quieter with other opportunities. Providing seating for people gives people an opportunity to linger, gives people an opportunity to be in the spaces where they live rather than just rushing through it.